course, we have to begin today with our top story, and that is, of course, the Sam Bankman-Fried saga. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is expected to appear in U.S. court today after arriving in New York by plane last night. Meanwhile, two of Bankman-Fried's former deputies are pleading guilty to charges brought against them in connection with the crypto firm's collapse. Yahoo Finance legal correspondent Alexis Keenan is here with all the details. And Alexis, a lot of details to be sure.
So much unfolding, Brian. Here's where we stand. Given Bankman-Fried's arrival in the United States last night after having waived his right to challenge extradition from the Bahamas to the U.S., he would be expected to appear in a Manhattan district court either today or tomorrow. He has to be given an opportunity to get his arraignment and a bail hearing within 48 hours of this arrival. So at the arraignment, when it does take place, he'll be asked to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. He'll also get that bail hearing. That's up to the judge to decide whether he can remain out of custody pending the conclusion of his case. Now, just how will Bankman-Fried plead to those 8 criminal charges that he's facing? Now, that has become much more difficult of a calculus after a U.S. attorney, the U.S. attorney rather, announced in a presser late last night that 2 of FTX's former executives pled guilty to multiple criminal fraud charges. Plus, they agreed to cooperate as witnesses for the prosecution. Those 2 executives are FTX co-founder and the company's former CTO, Gary Wang, as well as former Alameda research CEO, Caroline Ellison. Now, Ellison, for her part, she pled guilty to 7 counts of wire fraud, conspiracy against customers, as well as against lenders to Alameda, also money laundering, among other charges. Wang, he pled guilty to 4 counts of wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, commodities fraud, and also securities fraud. Now, presumably, these defendants, for their cooperation, will get more lenient penalties, but the sentencing that they will face in the future, we don't have a date on that yet. That will be decided by the judge. Both defendants also facing parallel claims. These are civil claims from the SEC and the CFTC. That's how we saw these various agencies also bring charges against Sam Bankman-Fried. Many of these charges are identical. For Ellison's part, her penalties, if she were convicted on all of these charges. So in theory, the sentence, even with this guilty plea, she's facing 110 years in prison and just multi-millions of dollars in fines. Wang, for his part, I believe his possible sentence goes all the way up to 50 years. Guys?
Alexis, while we have you, previously, SBF's whole defense, or at least strategy, was to try and convey that there was no intent. How do these 2 guilty pleas from his associates alter that strategy and alter the playbook that he and his legal team might have to put forward?
It's going to be so challenging, Brian. And, intent is tricky business in the first place. You have to actually get into the mind of a defendant as a prosecutor and show to a jury or to a judge that they intended to do what they did in terms of committing the fraud. So that can be difficult, but if Ellison and Wang and perhaps others who were at the top ranks at FTX and Alameda and its other entities, if they're able to produce evidence that shows that Bankman-Fried and others knew what they were doing, that is going to be so problematic. So their cooperation is critical, perhaps, in this case, but we'll have to see how this really plays out. And today we could see a guilty or a non-guilty plea from Sam Bankman-Fried. We don't know what he's going to say, if he's going to continue to fight these charges.
Excellent analysis, as always. Yahoo Finance's own Alexis Keenan keeping tabs on everything FTX and the legal proceedings set to move forward from here and across jurisdictions as well.